So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another one in our series here of our Loan Watch, where we look at the great and the good of Aston Villa in the academy that have gone out and found pastures new on loan to try and hone their skills. And this one I'm super excited about because it's Cameron Archer. It's somebody we've seen score goals in for Aston Villa prior to going on loan. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Ollie from the Butter Pie Podcast, Preston North End podcast. And this is one I'm really looking forward to chatting on, Ollie. But first, before we get into Cameron Archer, how are you getting on?
I'm great, thank you. I couldn't be better. Spending my Wednesday morning, afternoon speaking about Cameron Archer, one of the highlights of last season. So yeah, I couldn't be better.
Excellent. And I'm delighted that you're as excited to speak about him as I am, because little do a lot of people know, but there was a good portion of this season before Cameron Archer went out on loan where he was Aston Villa's top scorer. And for realistically, for a kid that and being really honest, the academy have done a great job in building this guy up and persevering with him and keeping with him, because he wasn't really putting up a massive amount of trees over the 3 years previously. He was with the academy, went out to Solihull Moors last season, scored 6 in 29, and then he just emerges this season for Aston Villa. And to be able to see this guy and this guy's movement and this guy's ability to take a snapshot is something that is almost bred out of players in the academy system. But for them to persevere and allow him to do that was fantastic to see for Aston Villa. And then he gets his loan move to Preston. And we were all thrilled to bits that he was going to a championship club, number one, but also he was going to a club whereby he would have the opportunity to play a nice handful of games. So talk to me a bit about Cameron Archer, and I suppose how the feeling is about Preston North End, what he was like when he came into the club.
So to start off with, it was a bit of, I'm unsure, like a bit of uncertainty, because obviously we saw the clips. Me and the podcast boys, we watched him against Barrow and thought, yes, he's a real deal. But obviously, some PNE fans may have not, looked into it, so they've been a bit uncertain. But from the second he came in, you knew he was special. I remember the first game; it was away at West Brom, and he came off the bench, and he just brought something different to the table, because we have a striker called Emil Rees who usually, plays on the last of the defender. So he kind of runs in behind. And Cameron Archer's come in and just filled the gaps in front and, create space for himself. And although he's a fantastic finisher, he also can, create things. So he's really advanced us as an attacking threat, for the fact that, yes, he does score goals, but the fact he can create chances for everyone else, and especially Emil Rees, it's brilliant to see. I mean, I was speaking to the boys in the group chat before. I said, where do you rank him amongst our, best loanees? And they went, yeah, he's up there with like FTLoPMcG and stuff. He was, super, like one of my favourite players for Preston North End. So, he's been absolutely fantastic this season. I think he's played every game he's come in this season, and I think only twice he's been on the bench, and the rest he's played, either full 90s or get taken off around about 80 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be invaluable for his development. And I suppose once again, Aston Villa fans were surprised that, yes, he comes on against Barrow and he scores those goals against Barrow. But with all greatest respect to Barrow, even though we did have I suppose a second string team out, he still had to score those goals, and then that was all well and good. And then we played Chelsea in the League Cup as well, and he comes off the bench and he scores, for me, is one of the best headers I've seen anyone score this season. I thought it was just an absolute fantastic header that he scores against Chelsea. And you kind of look at him and, he's not the tallest man in the world. I don't know what height he's actually listed at. I'd say he's 5'10", maybe 5, he's not the tallest, but he's got a spring in his step. And I think what I'm trying to get at here is that his attribute levels, he does everything at a 7 out of 10 already. I think, like, he's not going to wow you with massive pace. He's not going to be he doesn't have, how will I put it? He doesn't have this Wayne Rooney kind of brutish strength that he can go around with at the age of 19, 20. And he's not like a Raheem Sterling who's going to flick over like 40 or 50 step overs or whatever before he shifts the ball to the right and bends one in the top corner. But he does everything. He plays the game correctly, is from what I can see. Would that be a fair assessment of him? Or have you seen something different in his 20 games for Preston?
I could say you're wrong in two of them statements. I say the first two because I think he's a lot quicker than everyone realises. And I think one of the main things that did surprise me, and I know you mentioned, he may not be as strong as Wayne Rooney, but my God, he holds that ball up well. And, he bounces off players, and you don't expect that of someone of like Cameron Archer. He's got the ball into his feet. He's on and off like 2 or 3 players at once. And, I'm not sure whether it's brute strength or it's just, maybe some agility or whatever, but he gets his body in the way. It's great to see how he does it. I wouldn't necessarily say it's strength, but it's definitely an attribute that he does have. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't, take it past 3 or 4 players, but, he can definitely take it past 1 or 2 and, find a shot on goal or, spread it out wide. But he's a very surprising player to come up against. Yeah,
and that's exactly, I was going to be my next key as well. So, yes, I've just spoken about he's probably a 7 out of 10 and everything at the moment at the age of 20, and there's potential to grow here. And he does some great things, his snapshot. When he takes a snapshot on goal, like, he very rarely misses the target. Well, when he was with Villa, obviously I haven't watched every game that he's played for Preston North End, but when he was with Villa, he would take snapshots, or he'd take earlier shots than more overly coached players, is what I'm going to call them. So we've got Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins. One of my bugbears with the two of them at the moment is they're looking for the perfect shot, and they don't take snapshots, catch keepers off guard. At Villa's under 23s, and I know you're playing against a goalkeeper that's going to be less experienced or whatever, but, Cameron Archer, if the ball dropped him at the edge of the area or maybe 25 yards out, he'd just stick a foot through it and it'd end up in the bottom corner. He's willing to do that. And what he reminds me of when he does that is kind of like if you look back at, I'm not going to even say prime Nicolas Anelka, but Nicolas Anelka when he was with Bolton, he kind of reminds me of that type of player. Even Nicolas Anelka when he went to Chelsea. And I'm not saying that he's Nicolas Anelka, obviously. There's people that are spitting out their coffee all over the country at the moment going, who's this nut job saying that we've got Nicolas Anelka? But it's just the way that he just swings a leg at things, but it's a controlled swing a leg, and it ends up going on target. And the more shots you have on target, the more likely you are going to score. And that I think is something that that I really love about him. He scored 7 goals in the 20 appearances that he's had for Preston. I'm going to put you in the spot now, and I never said this to you before the podcast, but can you recall maybe what your favorite of those goals, or one that really sticks out in your mind, was, and what was so good about it?
Blackpool, most definitely Blackpool.
Okay.
He got given goal of the season against Blackpool. I've got to be honest to you though.
I thought it was going to be this way.
Even if he fell over onto his backside and it hit him in the back of the head and it rolled over the line for 2 yards, it probably would have won goal of the season. But yeah, I was in the stadium for when the ball just gets played through to him, and he's about 20 yards out. And as you just mentioned, snapshots, that he's literally just received the ball first time. He's hit it as hard as he can, right direct as a bullet into the bottom corner, and it absolutely erupted Deepdale, and it's definitely one of my favourites. I don't think it's the best technically that he scored. I think, he scored one away at Peterborough in a 1-0 win, where he picked it up and, he just bent it into the top left-hand corner with hardly any, foot swing, which was very impressive. But, it's got to be the Blackpool goal, really. So, yeah, as you mentioned, he takes snapshots. He did it against Hull, actually. That was a big memory where I think it was like 2 minutes before the ball came to him. And he just smashed it. He rattled against the post, and then 2 minutes later he gets the ball again, hits it straight again, and we're 1-0 up. So he takes these snapshots and, the keepers aren't expecting it. Even defenders aren't expecting it, especially against Blackpool, because, to be fair, he could have easily been closed down a lot more by the Blackpool defender. But, he's a surprising player, as I say, and, he scores these great goals. So hopefully, he's scoring some more in a lily white shirt next season.
Yeah, and we'll get on to that in a moment, because I do want to talk about your manager and the potential link that he has with our current coaching staff and so on. And he talks about it quite a bit. We will talk about that in a moment. But you do know when he's known around Bodymore Heath as Little Tevez. So I know I just said about Nicholas Nelka, we're throwing around some rich names here. I'm completely aware of this, but I can't control the fact that he's known around Bodymore Heath as Little Tevez. And what you've kind of described there is this confidence in his ability and a kind of as I say, he'll have his pot shot. And I'm liking what I hear, because we saw it at Villa and he hasn't lost that when he's gone to the Championship. And I know you're saying that defenders should close him down and so on and so forth, but if you have a player who can drop into those pockets and pull defenders, specifically centre halves, out of position, and then you have that opportunity to have a pot shot from a bit further out, they're in an uncomfortable situation already. The goalkeeper is uncomfortable because the distance, he can see the distance between where the defender is, and oh my God, is there someone going to make a diagonal run in past here? I'm goosed. If they do, I'm going to have to come off my line. So they're thinking in a million miles an hour, and then all of a sudden he just bangs one in the bottom corner. And I think that's a lost art of football at the moment, specifically amongst younger players, because younger players are huge about making the perfect thing. And if it isn't on, we need to pass it, and it has to be a complete team game. But there is an opening market, I think, definitely within the Premier League for someone who can have that snapshot. Probably one of the best at the moment in the Premier League is probably a Harry Kane or somebody like that, who just backs himself to score and doesn't mind if he's that big greedy. And I wouldn't mind if we had somebody like that in our team. And obviously, from what you say, you don't mind having him on your team as well. I'm going to take a bit of a deviation here as well, because I know there's a lot. Obviously, I'm Irish. Spoiler alert. But there's a big Irish influence on your within the Preston North End team at the moment. Obviously, Captain Alan Brown, who's somebody that performs really well for the Republic of Ireland, Sean Maguire, and it's really Sean Maguire I want to talk about, because has Cameron Archer come in and been able to play with a striker of the ilk of Sean Maguire, or has he really replaced Sean Maguire within the team since he's come in? The reason I ask is because they for me would be probably competing types of players, and if he does come back to Villa, I think he's going to be competing with players kind of more energy based and endeavour based players like a Sean Maguire if he comes back to Aston Villa.
To say the least, he definitely ended up replacing Sean Maguire. Sean Maguire, I mean, albeit he's done superbly for the club, and I think he hasn't scored a outfield goal in about 2 years, Sean Maguire. So, but what I would say is Sean Maguire is a fantastic footballer, and he does the same things as Cameron Archer, whereas he does pick up the ball, this, that, and the other. And I think they're quite similar players. But the thing is, Cameron Archer has much more confidence in front of goal. So I think Cameron Archer's just gone straight in. At the start of the season, we were playing with Sean Maguire and we were playing with Emma Reese, who Archer's picked up a fantastic partnership with, especially in recent games. And it's the unselfishness of Sean Maguire, and Cameron Archer came in and he was a bit selfish in a way, but he was scoring. So sorry, my mum called me.
Right.
But who's going to stop him if he's scoring? And by the end of it, he's becoming more unselfish as well. And it's really, really working. Especially in the last few games of the season. But I mean, if Cameron Archer does end up coming back, I don't think Sean Maguire will really, get a sniff between him and Emma Reese.
And with Emma Reese obviously being a taller striker, 6'3", I didn't actually know that Emma Reese. And I was just doing a bit of prep work beforehand, but I didn't know that he came through the Derby County Academy, which is really interesting. So he did know English football. But do you think that a lot of the the leeway or the space that Cameron Archer has been able to find is because there's a bigger guy alongside him, because there's a bit of a conversation in Aston Villa at the moment that our strikers are a bit samey and we've got no change of pace striker or a bigger guy to come on and bully people. Is Cameron Archer, I suppose, a beneficiary of his size, or is it just coincidental that he's a bigger type of striker?
I think it's coincidental because Emil Rees, he plays off, the last line of defenders and runs in behind. Yeah, he's big, but you don't really think of Emil Rees of, bringing a ball down and, then playing from there where, the long ball comes, you stick it on Emil Rees and then you play from there. To be fair, I'd probably say Cameron Archer's done that job. It may sound surprising in the fact that, we've just given it into, Cameron Archer's feet. He's made it stick. He's given it out to either, Daniel Johnson, who's our most creative midfielder.
Former Aston Villa player. We left him go for a song. A lot of people are still sour about that. 50 grand, I think it was. Yeah. Yeah,
50 grand, Daniel Johnson. But yeah, he just makes things stick. And even if he has time, he can turn on the ball and Emil Rees is on the back. He's on the last defender and you can just thread him through. So I really think, Tom's calling me again. One second.
All right, you're all good.
No, but seriously, he's much more creative, and playing alongside Emil, he's just gaining so much more quality. Playing alongside someone because it's giving him different qualities that you probably don't think he needs as a striker, but definitely do have as a second striker. And I think that's what he's going to be. Potentially when he does go back to Villa, and I have no doubts about him forcing him his way into the first team. Whether that be this season or next season, I do think he'll play in behind another striker and just play slightly off the striker rather than being the sole striker.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense for me. So we spoke about Ryan Lowe, or potentially, the links that Ryan Lowe might have with Steven Gerrard, and we spoke. You mentioned that you're hoping that Cameron Archer scores more goals in the Lily White shirt next season. Ryan Lowe hasn't been quiet about wanting him back next season, and obviously he does have that link with Steven Gerrard. But let's talk about Ryan Lowe as a manager first of all. What's your guys' feelings on him, and what's the style of play that I suppose he's implemented within Preston North End? Because that gives everybody a kind of a feeling for maybe what Cameron Archer could have picked up as well.
So Ryan Lowe came in, he came in from Plymouth after. Put it this way. Even if he came in and did, we ended up finishing 17th. We couldn't have been playing worse if we tried. I can't be honest.
Was that on Neil?
Frankie McAvoy. Alex Neil left in February, and I felt bad about Alex Neil because he didn't really get back in January, and there was quite a lot of sales. So we gave it to Frankie McAvoy, and it was a bit of a, stopgap, manager. He just wasn't going to work. Ryan Lowe's, and he's first of all, he's galvanised the fan group, and the fans are fully behind him. We've sold more season tickets this season already than any other season. But the way he plays is, to be fair, quite similar to what Frankie set us up in. Is the fact that he plays three at the back, he plays with wing backs. And then it's a bit of a diamond. So it's like two central eights, a 10, and then two strikers. Okay. And he asks a lot from the wing backs as well. And in recent games, I don't think Ryan Lowe has, the wing backs that he needs. And as we mentioned, Daniel Johnson, he's, a creative 10. We've been playing him out at left wing back. And
interesting.
It's worked, to say the least. We've scored 7 goals in 2 games. So it's that type of system, and he has been seen to change to a 4-3-3 in game. He has stuck Cameron Archer out wide, but it doesn't really work. Okay. And he's mentioned that he's going to change personnel rather than change formation. So he's a manager that does stick to his guns in a way, and he wants to play this style of football. And as I've mentioned, the last 2 games, he's been altering around a few things, potentially playing Cameron Archer in a bit more, I know he's been creative, but a bit more creative role. And, he got an assist against Middlesbrough last game of the season. He should have had a goal, but Paddy McNair handballed it on the line. And, Emil Rees was on a hat-trick, so the penalty had to go to Emil Rees.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it seems that Cameron Archer's fitting into this system as kind of a second striker, but also a striker in the same sense. It's just, he's given, more responsibility to create things, not only for himself, but for Emil Rees as well.
Good, because when we were using him, or when he was asked in Villa, it was a case of, okay, you stand up there at the top and we'll get the ball to you and you do what you need to do. And I think that that's a really interesting part. And that's something I'm really enthused by, the fact that he's been given license to not just be the guy, okay, you stand up there and stay out of the way and we'll get you the ball and you'll put it in the back of the net, okay? Because at 20 years of age, you don't want to be pigeonholed as just a finisher. You need to have a bit more to your game. And he's now in with the England 21s. He's obviously got England under 20s caps. And he's going to grow. That's going to grow his game. If he's got any aspirations of an international future, he's going to need to be able to tread the lines between those 2 players. So I'm really enthused by what you said there. What do you think that the chances are he's back next season? Because I suppose for me, I'll give my views on it first. I would say there's a high chance. I would say it could be anywhere between 60-70% chance that he's back there. But I definitely think it could be one of these ones that happens maybe after the League Cup. That happens maybe if Aston Villa signed somebody like, and we have to whisper his name
Luis
because
Suarez.
people don't like me say it, Luis Suarez. Yeah, if they sign someone like that, because it splits the fan base. It splits the fan base. But if we did, we're still going to need 3 strikers. I suppose it's all consequent of maybe a Keenan Davis, that guy who might be a different type player. If he comes back and stays or goes to Forest, who knows? I'd say it's probably somewhere between 60, 65, 70% that he would maybe go back out on loan. And I think it would probably make sense to let him continue his development at Preston North End. What's the feeling around Deepdale about him coming back?
It's quite optimistic, to be fair. There was an interview last bit of the season. I'm not sure if it's Ryan Lowe, trying to get more bums on seats, but he said that Cameron Archer's told him that the only place he wants to come back to on loan is Preston North End. So we're just holding hope. And, he made an Instagram post and we had all Preston North End players go and see you next season, Cameron. Yeah. So we're like, there's a bit of optimism. If he's allowed out on loan, I think he will come back to Preston. And I think that's the optimism. But as you said, yeah, it does matter if, Aston Villa do go out and find this striker that you probably are needing to go up top with, either Ollie Watkins or Danny Ings, because you do need 3 strikers. And Keenan Davis has been doing brilliantly at Nottingham Forest, and he'll probably be wanting to, if he's offered Premier League football, because I don't think he'll probably start for Aston Villa. He might go into Nottingham Forest. So, to be fair, even for Aston Villa, fans, Preston North End fans are also, looking and waiting and hoping that Aston Villa sign a striker. So Cameron Archer does become available to come out on loan. But if he's available for loan, I will say a 95% chance he comes back to Preston. Obviously, Michael Beale is going to be the QPR manager. But I think Ryan Lowe's going to be having Steve G on speed dial, to be fair, because they are good mates. So if anything comes in about QPR wanting him, I think Ryan Lowe will be knocking on the door at Bodymore Heath. So
it's an interesting one that you say that, because geez, I was just thinking there, because I think the Championship are going to have Aston Villa academy players in demand for loans. Obviously, we've got Dean Smith. He knows those players inside out. He's going to want to do a rebuilding job at Norwich. We know Norwich don't blow cash. They don't spend a lot of it. They live on parachute payments. Michael Beale, who is at the time of recording here not the QPR manager just yet, but looks like it's only a matter of time. And then obviously, Ryan Lowe having such a good camaraderie with the guys at Villa. And then there's also loads of other connections there from the West Brom side of things. I know we're not going to be loaning players out to West Brom and stuff, but West Brom Academy has spread its wings, and a lot of coaches are moved around. And Obviously, we've got Neil Critchley, at former Liverpool under-23s coach with Mike Beale, coached with Stephen Gerrard there at Blackpool. So there's just like literally everybody has that's one of the blessings and the curses of having a famous manager like Stephen Gerrard. He's got everybody's phone number, but everybody has his phone number too as well. So, you know, if there is a battle to be had for people going out on loan, and I've mentioned it before in a couple of other podcasts, Villa really value the loan system. The new look Aston Villa over maybe the last 18 months, 2 years, we value the loan system. It's not about getting them to the best team or getting them to the top division that we could possibly get them into. It's getting them into the right team where they can grow, they can learn, they can play to their strengths. And we've seen that with Ken Kessler-Hayden earlier on this season. We've seen that with Louis Barry. We've seen that with Cameron Archer and Finn Azaz as well. Somebody who's gone under the radar at Newport County. We've certainly seen that with him. He was put into a situation where he was playing in a team that played him to his strengths, and he ended up winning League Two Young Player of the Year. So and that's somebody who literally signed for Villa and was out on loan less than 24 hours later, you know, so Villa didn't even actually get him into the ground at all. They just loaned him out and they had a perfect plan for him. So it's interesting. And as I say, the reason I'm saying this is Villa's loan strategy is very much to build up relationships, find players the right places to play. And it's all about the development of the player as opposed to, well, we're going to put him in a team here who think they need him to get over the line to win the championship or whatever, but he's only going to get 10 games. Much better if he was to go out and get 48 games next season or whatever it is, you know, including cups. That would be fantastic for him. But no, that's great. Ollie, we're nearly talking about half an hour, and I said I'd only keep you 15 minutes. So I really appreciate the time you've given me, and I know that you do have to pop off in a moment. Any final words on Cameron Archer before I let you go?
I mean, even if he doesn't come back, he's written himself in as a Preston North End legend for the goal against Blackpool. I'm unsure whether or not he's ready for the Premier League football next season. I mean, my heart says, you know, I've seen him at Deepdale and he's been fantastic. But, you know, my brain's probably is saying, you know, he probably does need another year, you know, and a full season under his belt at the Championship level. You know, I'm back in Preston to, you know, finish, you know, at least the top half of the table. And, you know, Cameron Archer he'll definitely at least get, you know, 46 games a season. Yeah, I would be very surprised if, you know, we brought in anyone alongside the caliber of Cameron Archer to you know, try and put in competition for him, because he's above the level, you know, of Preston North End. But it does suit him. It does suit him, and, you know, the way we play suits him. You know, he's probably better than, you know, the majority of players at Preston North End. You know, that's not anything bad against Preston North End. It's just the quality of Cameron Archer. So, you know, I'd love Cameron Archer back next season. I can't lie. And, you know, in my head, we are getting Cameron Archer back. You know, we're going through, like, we did a few summer transfer windows. You know, I was like, oh, we'll just leave striker because, you know, Cameron Archer's coming back. So we're all in hope that he is coming back. But, you know, in the future, we'll definitely keep an eye open for him. And, you know, I have no doubts he's got to play for the first team of Villa. And, you know, and all the boys in the podcast, we did a vote and we said that we'd be surprised if he didn't play for the England national team in the future. Wow. So he's really, really influenced us all. And, you know, we just hope that he comes back. And, you know, he's got that connection with the fans, because Ryan Lowe always does a fist bump after every win. And at the end of the season, so when they're doing player awards, they all did the clap around, and he got Cameron Archer to do the fist pump instead, or to the home fans. So, you know, he's got that connection with the fans, he's got the connection with the players, he's got the connection with the manager. Hopefully we have that connection again next season. Yeah,
and I know I don't want to bring up all players, but when you mentioned about Cameron Archer playing for England, if David Nugent can play for England, Cameron Archer can play for England. And I know you were going to say David Nugent's a Preston North End legend.
He scored, so, you know, one appearance, one goal, the best ratio in football. David Nugent, that's going to stay close to my heart.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Well, listen, Ali, thanks so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. For everybody, if you're adopting a second team, maybe you are, maybe you want to follow Cameron Archer next season. I know you said Cameron Nugent, Cameron Archer next season, and he does go out on loan again to Preston North End. Well, the best place to follow him, best place to see how he's playing, the best place to hear glowing words from what I can tell about him will be on the Butter Pie podcast. So, you know, I do listen to other fans' podcasts. I do listen to other podcasts with other players. When I can, when I get time. So I would implore you guys, if Cameron Archer does rock up in the lily white of Preston North End next season, the Butter Pie podcast is definitely one to listen to for match reviews to hear how he's getting on. But thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Thanks again to Ollie. If you guys could give this a little thumbs up on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it. Don't forget the audio podcast as well. If you're not subscribed, please do. Some of these will be going out audio versions only, and we don't want you to miss them. So this is another one in our series of our Loan Watch. Delighted to talk about Cameron Archer. For everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and until the next time, all that's left to say is up the Villa.